Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get singles for all your Force of Will and other trading card games, as well as these amazing patrons. Thank you for your support. Enjoy the video.
Hey the Rulers, DMO73 here, bringing you the deck profile for the Rezzard Giant Ritual deck that I played earlier this week. Tons of fun. I absolutely love Alice's Castling. I love the Giants. I love Dance of Shadows. And I wanted to play a Rezzard list that didn't use Sigurd, didn't use Alter, didn't really use Athenia for anything other than just making Rezzard free to flip. And so that's why I built this. And it's a ton of fun, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I think it has a lot of potential for power, especially if you're playing in a meta that just doesn't play Graveyard Hate. And if you're in a meta where your locals have decided to say you can't play Altar, which I think is totally fine in this environment, this is definitely a deck I think you're going to enjoy. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Obviously, we have Rezzard is on our front side. In terms of his triggers, we're primarily going to be using the Send Two Strangers to Grave and Free Judgment. You're not really wanting to bring stuff back to your hand too much. You want it to sit into the graveyard. But because a lot of your Resonators are quick cast, there's often a lot of times where you're going to want to go ahead and just force your opponent to sacrifice a Resonator, which I think plays into the early game to kind of keep yourself safe, as you saw in the match we played. Going into the stone base, we're playing 4 Dark Depths and 4 Ataraktia's Memoria, as well as 1 Black Silence and 1 Deepwood. You could swap this up based on what you have. If you want to play 4 Black Silence and 1 Ataraktia's Memoria, it's just personal preference. My Black Silences are very shiny, so I tend to use the Black Silences over the Ataraktia. But this is so that we have a primarily black, mostly blue, green, and then hint of blue stone base. As you can see, we have way more green than we have access to blue, and that's why we're doing it. Our primary colors are black, green. Stranger wise, we're playing 2 Chronos because he is an excellent way to just control the game state, especially if you keep reviving him and all kinds of stuff. 2 Fausts because, again, for the same reason, you can just kind of keep using it and keep bringing your power back up and back up and back up, especially since you're going to be cycling things like Rhea over and over and over again. You just turn Rhea into Fausts, and it's very, very good. Shade, because you're a reanimate deck, and getting multiple triggers or sacrificing a Shade to Part of True Power is really, really awesome. Loki, if you get one of these to grave early, it's really nice against those board wipe decks, so you can Dance of Shadows it very, very quickly, and be able to bring it back to clear the board and keep things back on pace. And then of course double Black Wizard because it's ramp, that's kind of free sometimes, and as you saw in the game, it gets a little bit out of hand. Going into the main deck, we're playing 4 Moan of the Dead as our primary removal card. It is very, very good just by itself, as well as getting us other Strangers to Grave. Space-Time Anomaly for some additional draw power and some great J-Ruler hate. It's not the best card, but it is a mage art, and so you can do some pretty cool things with it, as well as being able to replace itself. Also, we just love Remnant cards, which is really great. Part of True Power, along with Pharesia, is -9, right? For only 2 will, which I think is very, very relevant. Part of True Power, as we talked about before, it's the main reanimate card, alongside 3 copies of Dance of Shadows. This is how you're bringing back your Giants to do the big combos, which is really awesome. And also lets you grab Giants that aren't darkness, like Burglemere or Trow, which gives you a lot of value. 4 copies of Death Scythe, the big hitting card Alice's Castling, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. 4 Pharesia, powerhouse card in this deck. It also helps you get cards that are dead or that you want to reanimate from your hand into the graveyard. And with so many Remnant cards, it just becomes removal plus a spell, which is very, very nice. 3 Utgard Loki, 4 Mikage Rhea for your combo enabler there to get stuff to grave, like your Dance of Shadows, the Giant you want, everything else. Shion, this card is more of a cute card because it produces black for mage art, so it is kind of a ramp. But also, it's also really nice to be able to use it for Part of True Power, use it to produce the black, 1 stone, you sacrifice the Shion, and you kind of get the same kind of recycled value that you do with Rhea, but Shion's a little bit more ramp based instead of quick cast. Just a personal tech choice. 3 copies of Burglemere, because also excellent for a reanimate deck, since you can ship stuff to graveyard, leave stuff on top of your deck that you don't want to be milling, anything else like that. 2 copies of Trow. I think we actually might have considered bumping this up to 3, based on maybe some other numbers, but this card is an absolute powerhouse in this deck. Ramps you stones if your Rezzard is flipped, gets you Rhea back to hand from the deck, so much value off of this card. And then 2 copies of Athenia. Primarily so that if you're Rezzard, if you need to like flip Rezzard early, or if you're feeling a little bit of pressure, Athenia can turn your Rezzard flip into free, especially if you can't find a death scythe. So the idea of pay 3 judgment, hit an Athenia, recover your 3 stones, and so then you still have access to be able to do God's Art and pieces like that. It's just a nice utility tool, as well as being able to like manipulate our graveyard, recycle things like our giants or Alice's castling or anything else to keep the game going. So that is the deck. Again, absolute blast to play. If I wasn't building a deck for the channel every single week, I'd probably just be on this deck all the time. But I think that this is a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have a different take on Rezzard Reanimator, or a different kind of idea of what you'd want us to try to see play with Rezzard, go ahead and consider letting us know, or click that join button down below to be a member. And at certain levels, you get to suggest and may have your lists featured here on the channel. But until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.